Hey guys, this is Devlin Macabre, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show with Wrestling with Entertainment, the first audio experience on the web today. Previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, now on a Sunday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, that guy, James J., alongside Kaliko Yachts, the leader of Squash Squad, who might be joining us a little later, but who is here right now, the American Scooter Dust.
Behind every successful man is a woman, and behind her is that man's wife.
And it was maybe not a great day for wrestling or wrestling fan enthusiasts, Scooter.
Yes. To those of you who don't know, I have a somewhat of a personal connection to Mike Johnson of PW Insider. I consider him family, as does my nephew, and sadly his mother passed away a few days ago. And Mike, if you are listening, to you and everybody at PW Insider, Mike, you're in our thoughts and in our prayers, and we wish you nothing but love, my friend.
Absolutely. Everybody here at Wrestling Entertainment, our thoughts and prayer are with you and your father. Alright. It's time to get into the news. Earlier this week, Wednesday to be accurate. Tony Khan's big announcement was a joint show with New Japan Pro Wrestling called The Forbidden Door. Your thoughts, Scooter?
Oh, well, other than, I called it, Tony loves that Forbidden Door, man. AEW Dynamite's going to soon be renamed to Wednesday Night Big Announcement.
Well, the Tony Khan show featuring Tom Hanks. You get a special announcement, and you get a special announcement, and you get a special announcement.
Look under your chairs, because there's an exploding landmine! One match already announced, Eddie Kingston versus Ishii. That's gonna be something. But the fact is, it's in Chicago.
Yeah.
And the question on everyone's mind is, who does Punk face? This is a great thing for both AEW and New Japan, by the way.
Well, we'll get into more of the specifics with that, but what I've been hearing and what somebody online has been lobbying for was a match against Kenta, the Battle of the GTSs. And Kenta has been lobbying for this match for quite some time. Do you see it, actually becoming a thing?
I could see Punk versus Kenta. It would definitely be a hell of a match. The other thing I'm hearing around Kenta is him against Sammy Guevara.
Oh God, why?
Which, knowing the AEW crowd, they would probably end up shitting all over the match, wanting, just waiting until, Punk's match, because Punk can't not be there. So, but Punk Kenta would definitely be great. I assume that would be the opener.
Does CM Punk really open a Chicago show?
I mean, he did open it on his debut.
That wasn't a match.
But I could see maybe, the match before intermission, if there is one. I mean,
I don't think there's going to be an intermission.
But unless you're planning on putting Punk against, unless you're planning on having Punk challenge for the IWGP World Heavyweight title, I don't think his match is the main event.
I wasn't thinking that unless he does, but again, we'll talk about that in a second. Unless he does do that, I wasn't thinking that he was going to challenge for he was going to be the main event. I mean, his long-awaited return of 8 years was not the main event. I mean, the only time he's main evented at this point was the MJF match in Chicago, which was just Dynamite. And I mean, there is the, he is probably more than likely challenging
Adam
Hangman for the
Page,
championship at Double or Nothing, so he can potentially be the AEW champion.
I mean, I'm thinking maybe they pull out Blood and Guts for a 5-on-5 AEW versus New Japan.
Interesting.
But
the other thing about this show was, will Okada be present for it? I kind of feel like if he's not, then it's pretty much a waste of a show. Because he's the flag bearer for New Japan Pro Wrestling, he's the champion, he hasn't been here in over 2 years. It would make sense to have him on a big show like this.
So, okay, I take it back. If it's Punk Okada, that's the main event, clearly.
Obviously.
Dave Meltzer joked, because Okada's wife's birthday is
the day after.
Yeah, so and Okada said he probably wasn't gonna be doing the show for that reason, but they Meltzer assumed he was kidding, I believe.
But Okada, you can't really tell. But then again, I never knew that he actually had a wife. That could be a joke as well.
I almost expect for them to announce Okada won't be there, and then Okada is going to be there.
Is this show good for business, Scooter?
Yes, I think it is, and it with New Japan on the on this side of the pond, finally making their way to the East Coast. They're in DC next month. It's it's definitely going to have an effect on the integration of more New Japan talent showing up in AEW.
I personally feel it depends on who from New Japan comes. Cause if we're getting Eugene Nagata, uh, Kojima, Tenzan, I mean Ishii comes here all the time. Like it's not a rarity to see Ishii. Then this show really doesn't matter. It's just a handshake event, a friendly exhibition show. But if they bring Okada, Naito, Tana, who else am I missing? Okan, Saber Jr.,
Shibata, Desperado,
Desperado, um, the rest of
DSJ.
LIJ, you know, the heavy hitters that haven't been here for quite some time, then that's gonna make this event an event. And I kind of feel like it's wait and see at this point.
By the way, I take that back. I made a mistake. Kingston Ishii is not set for Forbidden Door. It's for the event in DC next month. So nothing has been announced yet.
And you know, I'm a fan of Jay White for sure, but Jay White ain't selling out no Chicago event, unfortunately. So it's I kind of feel like it depends on who's on this card. And if we get heavy hitters, then it's a worthwhile show to see. If it's just, you know, hey, these guys are Japanese from Japan and we're bringing them over, then it's probably maybe a show we should pass on.
Mm. Well, I mean, we could. Yeah, there a lot of sites are predicting the matches that they want to see.
Other than Kenta and Punk, what are the prediction matches?
Well, let's start with uh. Ooh, and are we being joined by our third leg?
The Little Squash Squad Collision. Yes.
Whew. Hell yeah. Love it, love it, love it. What's going on,
We're
fellas?
talking Forbidden Door.
So Bleacher Report, they're the ones who suggesting Kenta versus Sammy Guevara. They're also suggesting Desperado versus Darby Allin.
That would be fucking awesome.
Malachi Black versus Minoru Suzuki. I personally think Minoru Suzuki has been seen enough. Uh, uh, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland against Takagi and Takahashi.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Uh, Brian Danielson versus Zack Saber Jr. I think this is the only given.
I mean, it could be.
It could be. But,
Uh,
you keep continue.
Samoa Joe versus Ishii.
Ooh.
That'd be bullshit.
Uh,
That would have to
Andrade,
be a submission match, in my opinion.
You should have
Andra-
submissions though.
Andrade versus Naito.
Yeah.
Nah.
Moxley versus Tanahashi, but is probably also the other given. And main eventing. Well, no, not main eventing, actually. Second to last. Hangman versus Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
And then main eventing the Golden Elite versus the Undisputed Elite.
But they're friends.
Wait. Oh, never mind. Punk and Okada in the main event.
Ooh.
And I'm going to go through two other sites really quickly. Then we can get to talking into everything. All right. Now we have the Sportster. 10 matches they want to see. Eddie Kingston versus Shibata.
Don't think that's gonna happen.
Orange Cassidy versus Toru Yano.
That would be fun. That would be fun. That'd be fun.
The Lucha Brothers versus Will Ospreay and Jeff Cobb. A four corners match involving Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, Hiromu Takahashi, and Kushida.
Shit.
Miro versus Ishii.
Yeah.
MJF versus Naito.
No.
No. No.
No.
The bell would ring and that would be over. Jesus Christ.
Kenny Omega versus Takagi. Punk Kenta.
Yes.
The only thing in common on the previous one. Hangman versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. And Danielson versus Okada. Finally, we have SB Nation. They want Hangman versus Okada. Thunder Rosa versus Sayuri. The only one to ask for a women's match. Jay White and the Undisputed Elite versus the Golden Elite.
Golden Elite being part of Brucey?
Yes.
Never going
But they're exactly. Can you imagine for a second what would happen if Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi returned from injury in Chicago, then reunited the Golden Lovers on the same night?
Get the fuck out of here.
That's
just fanboy fan fiction.
Oh, just wait. FTR versus God.
I would be okay with that. That's a great fucking match.
Sting versus the Great Muta.
Ooh. He's still active.
Senior citizen leaves town match? Like, what the hell?
Free oxygen tanks for the first 10 rows because they'll be stuck.
You know what I'm saying? Like, shit.
A never open weight 6-man tag team championship match between House of Torture and Blackpool Combat Club.
Oh, that would be okay. That would be a great fucking match.
Yeah, okay.
Pac versus Will Ospreay.
That's a rematch that needs to happen.
I don't even remember the first match that happened.
Draw.
Oh.
The Best Friends and Rocky Romero versus Naito, Sonata, and Andrade.
Well, Sonata's not going to be there. He's injured.
Britt Baker versus Saya Kamatani.
So we're having a joint New Japan with Stardom event.
That's what they're assuming.
Daniel unless they bring Miho Abe or Muffin Ass, it's not a New Japan goal.
Daniel Garcia versus Zack Saber Jr.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sammy Guevara versus El Desperado. And
Another decent one.
And finally, the main event that all three of these websites have in common: Punk Kenta.
So, let's first and foremost, Kaliko, what are your thoughts on this event happening? Scooter was on the lines of this is going to be a good for New Japan because they're making their way on the East Coast and they're trying to come back to America. I was on the lines of this is only a good business so unless they bring the heavy hitters, which is Naito, Takagi, Okada, the guys that we haven't seen in America for 2 years. What's your stance?
Honestly, this is the stuff that you dream of as wrestling fans that you wish that could happen but never could, and now it's finally happening, and you're like, holy shit. And your brain is just going off of how many. It's almost like Street Fighter 2 where you're trying to pick what characters can do with this and da 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 da. And that's, I think that part of it, the nostalgia part, is the greatest part. New Japan got some. It only would work if New Japan has a great showing. And my fear is that I hope New Japan don't go out like Impact did with goddamn AEW, because that was just like a screw session, homie, and that's what I'm scared of.
I don't feel like
But
New
I
Japan will bend over for AEW. I mean,
but
because like in this scenario, New Japan is the bigger name.
that could be true. However, it's how can I put it? The reach of this is only, and this is the bad part. The good part is this is the greatest thing ever. The bad part on my fear is this reach only the reaching wrestling, because you know it's great for wrestling in the inside, and I want it to be on the outside where it's like holy shit. Oh, and that's where I think a New Japan has the advantage over an AEW, because they build their stars, or the culture in itself views them greater than what American does with pro wrestling.
Let me
You see what I'm saying?
let me post a theoretical then. Who do you think would buy? Who do you think they'd get more buys from? New Japan fans or AEW fans?
That's a great question. Oh man, if I had
Well,
to pick, I
the people coming there in Chicago, they're gonna want to see the New Japan people. I mean, they've seen
but
AEW every
but
single
Chicago's
time.
not a. See, I think AEW in the attendance is gonna eat the ass up, because Chicago is not really an Asian market. Like if it was LA, I could definitely see the Asian demographic market being there. Because we when they did the show in Long Beach, and James, you and I were there, it was a lot of motherfuckers that you didn't think it was we watching New Japan when that was there, and they were Asian as hell. No offense to my peeps, but just to prove my point. But I think buying wise, I would say it would lean more towards New Japan on the pay per view part. But I think the attendance part, I think, is going to be heavy AEW, because it's Chicago. They wouldn't have put it there if they knew it wasn't. You see what I'm saying? It's like everything they do is Chicago, Minnesota, Florida. They barely come on the West Coast, and thank God that they didn't, because them tickets probably would have been high as hell. Because you know, shit,
Right.
just because it's another demographic jumping in that pool.
I kind of feel it might be the opposite because, like I said, New Japan fan, Chicago fans. Every time like a New Japan wrestler comes to Chicago, they lose their freaking shit, especially during that Suzuki Moxley encounter. So I mean, I would feel that more people would buy a ticket to see the people that they haven't seen yet, like an Okada, Naito, Great Okan, Osprey, yada yada. Then you know, and the ticket the big biggie buzz would be more American for the simple fact that it's probably not going to be on at a decent hour in Japan.
That could be the case, but I the only reason I argue that is because they did a show in Dallas, in Texas, and Texas got mad. Because remember, New Japan was in Texas,
Right.
and it wasn't like in Texas is as far as wrestling history is up there with Chicago, if not surpassing Chicago. And I think the only reason Chicago gets the no shade to Chicago. The only people I think the reason Chicago gets the rep that it gets is because of the reactions, right?
Um, I mean, different.
It's a different groove. Because to
It's absolutely
me,
a different group.
and the reason I say that is to me, and the only reason I say that because in my mind, the wrestling capital of the world is Memphis. Hands down, bar none. I don't give a fuck what nobody else say. Memphis, because every wrestler who had to get their bones had to be made in Memphis. There's no way about it. No, up until like I want to say 20 years ago. But every other wrestler had to go through Memphis because Memphis was the ground. So they went to Texas, and Texas has that similar connection with Memphis, and it really wasn't like buzzing as much as you would thought it would be, right? And that was just a straight New Japan show.
No, that was the G1 show.
Oh, who was?
That was the G1. The start of the G1 was in
Yeah, that's
Texas.
what I'm saying. That's my point.
Yeah.
And that's like their best. That's the best thing that they got there as far as a tournament.
Right.
So that's why I think it, because I see what they're trying to do, and I think when they saw what happened in Texas, New Japan's like, okay, now let's go back to the drawing board. We'll still entertain LA a little bit with the American side, but now when we go over, we're going to hit these major cities: Chicago, DC, Philly, New York. See, they got more love in New York than they did Texas.
Very true. But again, very different market.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I mean, Chicago, they're gonna know who the hell they are.
Yeah.
But the question is, am I Joe Schmo who never heard of them are gonna fly from Texas to New Japan to see Okada?
Right. So
And that's where I think it. That's why I think it's AEW heavy because AEW gonna eat those tickets alive before they even get to the main market.
let's talk about the matches that Scooter had gone over. There is one event, major event that's going to happen before this, Double or Nothing. And as it looks right now, we're getting Hangman Page versus CM Punk for the championship. Um, Depending on how that goes, where the let's just for argument's sake, let's say Hangman Page is still champion. Where should he be on the card? And if there is an Okada at the show, where should he be?
Wouldn't it be champion versus champion? I feel the winner of that match should fight Okada.
I mean, but then
Which,
somebody has to
which
lose.
Yeah. So if Punk, but at least Punk has a. See, the thing is, Punk has a backup match in the event he doesn't get it, because everybody wants to see him versus Kenta.
I think no matter what happens, everybody wants to see Punk versus Kenta. I think that's the only
Yeah, that's
thing everybody could agree about.
yeah, I know, right? And you're not really even going in for the match. It's just for to figure out who's gonna pull that GTS out
Um,
there.
Like,
mm, well, honestly, I would. Yeah, you go back to the idea that maybe this is possibly a handshake event, but there's a sinking feeling that we'll get Punk and Kenta, but we're gonna get Punk and Okada at All In, or is it All Out that's next after
all
that?
out.
All Out in August. Yeah, I think that will
In,
set.
in
And my
September, I think that is. What I was hearing is that, and again, rumor and innuendo, that they would set up a Kenny Omega Okada match for All Out if he was ready.
I Omega Okada. I mean, that would be cool, but
but there'd be no reason storyline wise, because honestly, if Kenny comes back, he's got to get involved in the
the title picture
undisputed. Well, out of the undisputed elite.
versus Golden Elite.
Yeah,
Pretty much the same story that they did in Japan, just in an American version
They
with
didn't
him and
really do
Ibushi.
it in.
With
Honestly, they didn't do it in Japan. They kind of
no,
brushed it to the side.
I mean, the thread on the Japanese side, it was Ibushi and it was Ibushi and Omega, and they had the history. Now he comes back. There's history with the Bucks. Guy never really got to see Adam Cole. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
It's like those two never touched, even though they were members of the same group.
right.
So you would think that they would have to come to fisticuffs at some point.
Kaliko, who from New Japan has to be on this show for you to be satisfied?
Who would have to be on this show? You have to pick just one.
Oh, you can pick multiple.
Okay. Okada for sure. I feel like Okada and Naito are like two wrestlers who are these uber stars, but could walk down the street in America and no one knows who the fuck they are.
Maybe they have a better
And
chance in Chicago than Long Beach.
bro, if you're Okada and you can walk from the hotel, from the building to the hotel, and ain't nobody giving a damn, that I mean, yeah, that's good and peaceful, but to me, I think it's just the American market. I think those two guys have to be there and they have to win.
What about you, Scooter?
well, clearly, the main event, really, that everybody wants to see, and if we don't get it, we're gonna riot. Is you know Nakazawa versus Yoshihashi.
Yeah, Kaliko, what are your thoughts on Yoshinoshi?
Fuck Yoshihashi. He's on that card. I'll burn that. I will not watch it if Yoshihashi makes it.
But I
But
I think well I think Shibata's got to definitely be on it and be in
Yep.
a singles match. Uh, Evil has to be on it and in a singles match.
Yep.
I mean, Osprey,
Osprey.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely
Um,
get Offspring, but I feel like guys like Offspring come to America a lot more often than the other people we've been discussing. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, and then again, this is why I'm thinking that they're gonna pull out Blood and Guts to evoke, a true WCW esque War Games with Sting and Muda leading the teams.
Hmm.
They better be coaching the teams because
Not,
they
What about a blood and guts match that involves um, Sting and Darby and some of their little buddies and Suzuki Gun? You have Minoru, Zack Sabre, Taichi, Dusty, and Taka.
hmm.
I mean, that could work, but there is a match that I wanted to see, but it never happened,
Oh,
and it was Suzuki versus Cassidy.
That's right, Orange Cassidy.
That match was supposed to happen.
It was.
It's a, he was supposed to get murdered, and it never.
You feel like
yeah.
his life was saved, and now he has to, he has to give up. He has to give up now. You
Yes,
promised you
you've
were gonna
got
die in this
you.
match.
You've had your run, sir. It's over.
Yeah, the two names um since he's not going to even be around, but if he wasn't injured, I would say Lucha Bros versus God,
Yes.
I mean, how
but
long has it been since Ray Phoenix been out?
broke his wrist. God, it's been a
It's
while,
been a
but
minute. Why?
I mean, you could probably do Penta Oscuro versus Evil.
I'm not wrong about that. But I kind of like what one of the spoiler pages was saying. Blackpool Combat Club versus House of Torture. That seems like a really great match in my eyes.
It could be.
and, and then they shake hands at the end, and they become
Thank
the
you, Max, for the
Blackpool
Buddha.
and afterwards they shake hands at the end, and they merge to become the Blackpool Combat House of Pancakes.
You mean torture?
No, I mean pancakes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Are they equal chances?
They're pancakes that keep showing you more of them at each event.
Alright. Well, we could probably go on this topic all fucking day. Um, so maybe it's time to get on to other topics. Let's go on to Jack Evans decided. Well, I don't think he decided, but he will not be resigning with AEW. I feel like this was a guy that really had a chance to shine and given that spotlight, and he just didn't. What kind of happened to him?
Who are we talking about? No, you know, Jack Evans Jack Evans is unfortunately one of those guys that was always second fiddle. Even to Angelico and Teddy Hart. He was second fiddle. Is this a big loss for AEW? No. Is anybody even gonna remember it tomorrow? Probably not.
What about you, Kushia? Good talk on Jack Evans.
I mean, it's everything I told y'all was gonna happen, man. Eventually, like it felt too good to be true for the AEW to be this utopia for wrestling. And then there's another rumor, and it's just a rumor. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say I don't know if it's true or not. But another rumor that Jeff Hardy is looking to go back to WWE.
I didn't hear that one, but I did hear that Cody said that he wasn't happy with where he's going in WWE right now, and asked
Uh,
Tony Khan to buy his contract out.
no, no, no. That got twisted from a story where Cody made a promise he kept to a family 6 months ago about getting them tickets for Dynamite.
Okay.
Mm,
Yeah. Well, telephone, telegram, telewrestling.
yeah,
I mean, you brought it up to it though. What would that be with Jeff Hardy?
I mean, the rumor was that Jeff Hardy's asking to go back because he got back, and what has he done since?
He was on AEW Dark Elevation.
That's the point.
I mean, he was on Advanced Darkness.
That's the point. Because a person of Jeff Hardy's magnitude, you see what I'm saying?
But, I mean, I love Jeff Hardy. Next to the next, most like the next guy. And it just seems like,
Wait, hold on for a second, James. Were you saying that Cody wanted his contract bought out, or were you saying that Cody wanted Tony to buy Jeff's contract out?
to buy Cody's contract. Oh,
No, no. Jeff wants his contract bought.
Yes.
by WWE.
Yes.
Yes.
I did not hear this.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Sliced Wrestling, with the report on Twitter. Jeff Hardy has been reaching out to WWE officials, asking them to buy him out of his AEW contract so he can return to WWE. Being told Jeff isn't happy, as he was being already sent to Dark and Dark Television to work random 8 and 10-man tag matches. Now, we did speculate when he was released back in December that this was a case of, okay, we have to distance ourselves from you for a bit until the heat dies down.
If you're Vince
But
McMahon, what would you do with that?
I would say, Jeff, you
Make that
make
bed.
you forgot to make your bed. Now, please get some sleep because you need it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, I would just be, well, goddamn pal. Well, if you want to come back, wait until this contract comes up, and we'll talk to you then.
Apparently, Jeff Hardy signed a 20-year contract.
Okay, well, we'll get the Ouija board off the whole thing.
And by the time the contract is up, Vince McMahon will only be a head in a jar.
Now you make that joke, But what are the
Oh no,
possibilities that that's actually going to happen?
oh, Vince is definitely gonna get the Futurama treatment or the Disney cryogenically frozen treatment.
Oh yeah, we can rebuild him, make him better. But grandpa will be like
But we
Keanu
don't,
Reeves.
we don't have the big enough grapefruits.
Be like
He,
Keanu Reeves, pal.
we will build it. We will rebuild him as a literal jackhammer.
And Triple H will use him to cover things. And we lost Kalika.
Yes, we did. Unfortunately,
Yep. Thoughts and prayers.
uh, mm, mm, the possibility of Tyson Fury returning to WWE for a match, possibly with Drew McIntyre for the Stadium show in Cardiff.
I didn't hear the UK Stadium show. I heard SummerSlam.
Rumors I'm hearing are McIntyre Fury Stadium show. Uh, uh, they've a lot of WWE has they recorded messages supporting Fury before his match in Wembley with Dylan White.
Any relations to Dana White?
And then
You know that's a guy, right?
yeah,
Okay, that's just she can say.
yeah,
No.
I'll make you a girl.
I personally feel if they do Fury McIntyre at the UK show, it's kind of a waste of Drew McIntyre. I feel McIntyre need. If you do it like SummerSlam, it's okay. They're pacifying him for the UK show. That's fine. But if they're leading him to a match that probably is below him at this point, I I would go for that. But what say you?
They want something they can build as the Battle of Britain.
He's
So,
Scottish.
uh, not the Battle of the British. The Battle of Britain, as in Great Britain, as in the UK, which includes Scotland. Uh, Fury, Fury would be one end, and McIntyre would be the Scottish end. The other possibility is possibly we get Sheamus against Tyson Fury in that case. But then again, Sheamus, I don't believe, is from Northern Ireland. He's from Cabra, Ireland, which wait, hold on. Mm. Oh, but yeah, Sheamus is from the Ireland that's not part of the UK.
Oh, he's not English?
What?
He's not? He's
No,
not?
Sheamus. there's two Irelands. There's Northern Ireland, and then there's Ireland.
Yep.
So you're telling me that that Sheamus has been American this whole fucking time?
No. Yeah, I know you're playing around, but Sheamus still very much Irish. He's
from Boston.
He's not your cousin from Boston. Now, now,
Did you forget what you were going to say?
No, I'm double checking it, and no, Finn Balor would not count towards this either. Finn Balor also from regular Ireland, not Northern Ireland.
Yep.
So, Drew McIntyre
is the hometown.
Yeah, I mean, unless they manage to push somebody from NXT UK enough.
Well, like Tyler Bate, but even then, no. Try to think who would they push.
I mean, Tyson Fury versus Butch.
Tyson Fury, no.
I mean, but they could find Butch.
I mean, face it, boys. We're looking at Fury and McIntyre at the stadium show.
I wouldn't put it past them, because you know what? There's a rumor that the fight tonight or today that actually happened was Fury's last match.
He's retiring?
That's the alleged rumor, is that he's retiring. Because the problem with him is that the biggest money he could make was with a Brit by the name of Anthony Joshua, and Anthony Joshua's kind of caught up in a rematch, and so it's a lot of shit with boxing. So
basically those two guys that the UFC has been promoting as DLC again, even though they were DLC a number of years ago when the game came out. By the way, spoiler alert. Fury has won. He's won by knockout. In 2:59 of the 6th round. And yes, this is supposedly his last boxing match.
Yep.
And then Drew McIntyre came out and said one.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happened in boxing, because boxing and UFC literally got the same formula.
I was getting to that.
Took you too long.
And now McIntyre is being fined by the WBC.
Alright. Didn't they tell him that's the walk sport?
No, they told him that's going to be his best payday, homie. WWE like, shit, we'll eat that fine. That don't mean shit to us. It's a long game. And that's what I always kind of knew with these bigger shows. I think they found the formula for now on for WrestleMania. Get those mainstream stars who are athletic and people would pay to see get their ass kicked and bring them on over.
You know how much I would pay to see Bianca beat the shit out of Pokimane?
I'm just saying, man. It'll be like the Usos versus the Island Boys. I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Grayson Waller versus Laserbeam. Hell, you can do Jacksepticeye versus Sheamus. They're both from Dublin.
Oh god.
Oh,
It's gonna be Austin Theory versus T.I. Like, it's gonna be some shit.
Wait, get it right. It's just Theory. He's just a theory now.
yes. In theory, that would work. Alright,
But yeah,
there was a story that happened a couple weeks ago, but I don't, it wasn't covered by a lot of the media, but I did feel like it was important to kind of say for anybody that didn't know. A couple weeks ago in Japan, a drunken guy was attempting to abduct a teenage girl at a train station when New Japan Pro Wrestler Great Khan stepped in and apprehended the man until the proper authorities came. Great Khan was then awarded uh, a, uh, a plaque of gratitude from the city of Tokyo. And it's just one of those stories where a wrestler is doing good rather than bad. And I just wanted to share that story on the podcast for audio experience.
Well, I guess he's really earned the name.
Yeah,
He's great.
great.
He's going to be known as the really great Okan.
The great Okan.
Seriously though, that's surreal when the character can actually step off the TV and still be the person they are in the ring, and actually, do some good aside from Make-A-Wish stuff, and
right.
I mean, this is like, this is pretty fucking awesome.
And it kind of gets even awesomer. The girl and her mother wanted to reward him and offer their thanks to
Ooh.
him, and all he asked in return from them was to check out New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Oh man, that boy, because
God.
Japanese women, boy, they will do it. You bet, man. He's got a heart of gold right there. That's where the heart of gold is.
I mean,
Why you bullshit?
you don't think they were talking about a threesome, do you? No.
No, but they'd be like, "Oh yeah, move in, be the head of our household." Like, shit.
if that if that's all he asked for, what I bet people would say, "Oh, it's a work."
It was not a war. It was definitely not a war. But
I mean, considering that country has TV shows where they have 2-year-olds going to the grocery stores and shit by themselves, this is not a work.
Wait. They have 2-year-olds go to the grocery stores and shit by themselves?
Oh, bro, they have a show called Old Enough. It's on Netflix. And basically, what they do is that they have these 2 to 3-year-old kids actually go home and do errands. So one of the errands that the kid had to do was literally get on the bus, go all the way to the house, make some juice, bring it back to their mother at the field. Bro, that shit was nuts. I'm like, how?
Wait, no, but
What?
how much money did he get for this?
I don't know. I think it's just something to show like
no.
that kids are smarter than what you think they are, right?
But you said go to the supermarket and shit by himself.
Get shit. Shit.
I mean, if he's shitting in the supermarket, I don't want to be anywhere near it.
Man, no, he had to go get like some what the hell is it, like shopping list, and then he would come back, and the little kid was walking to the store, and he was like, "Oh, I forgot this," and he had to go back and get it. Then he walked all the way, and these kids are taking journeys. It ain't like they walking like down the street. They going like on the other side of town and shit, like by themselves.
You know, those are just like little people in children costumes, right?
Wouldn't be surprised.
Alright, well, a great heartwarming story, and yeah. I was thinking future IWTC champion, but we can move on.
Yeah, they're Japanese midgets.
Can't say that anymore, Caligo!
Uh, Apparently on the WWE side of things, there are no current plans for Alexa Bliss. And apparently she has been vocal on wanting to do something, and they just don't have anything for her. What the hell are they not? What do they not see with Alexa Bliss, and why aren't they doing anything with her? Squirtle.
Well, I guess I can tell you that she's on the way down. You know, because her husband sings that song.
Ah,
You know, but, you know, that's on the fucking WWE. I mean, like, Bliss is their top performer, regardless of in-ring ability. I mean, absolutely great in-ring talent, but the girl gives 110% in every story she's a part of. And to say that you have nothing for her, but yet you can have Xia Li turn heel with just a promo, a recorded promo. Well, I think that speaks volumes. It's just ridiculous.
what say you, Kuriko?
All those things and more. Because if there was one person that you had to find to get on the show, wouldn't you think it would be Alexa Bliss?
Right.
Like one of your biggest merch movers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I think that they dropped the ball. And this is where that formula shoots them in the ass, because it's like, yeah, you get these stars. You couldn't find a female star that wanted to work with Bliss at a Mania.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Well, I could understand what they would want to take her for after Mania, because she only came back in February and now that's not good enough time to build something.
well, the problem was that they were building something with her and Baszler, and then that shit just went to the wayside.
Right.
And that's where I was like, you don't think that you could have had Bliss interfere in the tag team match anyway? Right?
Right.
You could have found a way.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. I mean, what they have like what 30 writers on staff, and not one of them has any sense in their head to come up with something for Alexa Bliss. And it's gonna go
Which kind of,
back to, the Vince Russo effect. I mean, he was only one guy, but he made sure that everybody had a story in
apart.
mind.
And and as much as people shit on Vince Russo, and sometimes rightfully so, I get it, but he knew he was keen on the understanding of everyone is involved in the world, whether they touch or not.
Right. I mean, not were all of the storylines that they were in great? Probably not. No, absolutely not. But they were on TV every week. and they were doing something. They wasn't just
And it
sitting
kind
there
of
catering.
and it kind of pisses you off because consider the fact that they basically put her with Bray to do the OJT for the shit that boy don't start. They basically put Bliss to be like, oh yeah, you can take this Bray gimmick. Here's this on the job training. Meanwhile, they get rid of Bray. Now they got Alexa doing the shit and nowhere to be found.
Right. Because who wrote those storylines? Bray.
Pat fuck. No.
They hired the one person that actually knew what the hell that gimmick was.
Joe Buck. Yep.
Yep. The book.
The Young Bucks.
Um, probably know a person that nobody knows where this is going. Rhea Ripley turned heel. And we've been waiting for this for some time. Does this go anywhere? Does this lead to Rhea being the person she needs to be, or is this just another LPC? Let's just throw shit at the wall thing. Sort of.
It ain't gonna matter in like a month. She'll be back to being stuck in another random tag team.
Maybe with Cena this time.
No, probably with Zelina.
Hmm. She's the royal bodyguard.
I mean, Rhea seems to like the smaller partners. Like folded him like an accordion.
On another note, I think this is great news. Kushia has left NXT for good. Uh, it seemed like Kushida was maybe the perfect person to be in the black and gold, and 3 years have passed, and where was he? He was in a tag team with the Coke guy. Well, why didn't Kushida work better in NXT to begin?
Because the guy that got him there wasn't there. To be quite honest.
I mean,
It,
to be fair, he was there for 2 of his 3 years.
true, but considering all this shit that's going on with him, God knows how long that's been going on. And in the back end, because I'm just going on, I take what he says sometimes with a grain of salt. And I think it's also like, it's weird with Japanese wrestlers in NXT because they're either uberly dominant or they're uberly like irrelevant, right? Like
Yeah, you're right about that.
it's like when Nakamura got there, it was fucking crazy. But it only and I will say this: Nakamura having that match with Zayn as his first match literally probably saved his WWE trajectory.
Hmm. You might be right about that, but was it just a lack of.
It's the fact of the intro of who you are, right?
Yeah,
And 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 Kushida never really got to do that. Yeah.
no, he didn't.
Because like Asuka came in and she was just knocking bitches out. So it was in and given that with the women's division at that time, it was easy for her to knock bitches out.
Right.
Nakamura came in first matches against Sami Zayn, who at that time was literally the heart and soul of NXT at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Which was also Zayn's last NXT Match. match. Exactly. So it was the perfect storm. A baby's being born while a man's being murdered. The beginning and end. Literally. Literally.
Okay, that's an interesting way to interpret it.
Well, that's Nas.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Thank you. That's Nas, homie. Anywho, working on my Morrow skills. Anyways, but that was the perfect storm, and Kushida never got that.
No, he
Like
didn't.
the newer Japanese stars that are coming in now don't get that opportunity.
They made Soraya schoolgirl.
EO man, well, uh, well, EO got helped out by the Mae Young Classic.
Um, I feel like Io got help from her rivalry with Candice LeRae when she turned heel. That's kind
Mm,
of what saved her from being just another Japanese talent coming in.
Oh no! I'm sorry, not EO. Kyrie Sane, the Mae Young Classic saved her ass.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. I mean, I think Io just Kyrie Sane just never did a return to stardom, if I'm not mistaken.
Which goes to show, no matter what they say, until them boots are gone for good and they put them on sale on eBay, you don't trust anybody to say they retired.
Very, very true. Scooter,
um,
where does Kushida go from here? Where should he
back
go
to
from here?
New
Back to New
Japan.
Japan. Next.
All right. Um.
Uh, I think I could close us out with one more piece of news.
Sure.
Uh, it was announced earlier this week that AEW's video game has a name, and it is AEW Fight Forever, and it will be. It's supposed to be released uh, this fall. They're hoping for September, from what I've seen. Lots of chants were recorded uh, in Pittsburgh this past week, including for Adam Page, Adam Cole, FTR, um, uh, playable playable roster announced as of now: Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, and Hikaru Shida. Uh, Perhaps the biggest development out of this video game is
That it exists?
that joining the roster will be Owen Hart,
Ooh.
Hmm.
which marks Owen's first appearance in a wrestling game since 2004.
2004. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Interesting.
Did you wipe her?
All right.
Did you
So,
wipe her? Her feet.
Fight
Her feet.
Forever. Depending on how the mechanics go, that might not be just a cool name, right?
Well, considering that Ukes is behind it, and wrestling fans have been clamoring for another Ukes game, I mean, this could be interesting. However, if you've seen the early build footage, um, Omega and Jericho both kind of look like they kind of look like dolls.
Hmm.
that's, that's fucked up.
I mean, they look like their muscles are like stitches. Um, but it will be the first video game in quite some time
From
to,
Ukes.
to allow intergender matches.
Ooh.
You know what's crazy about Ukes? Good news is it's Ukes. The bad news is they hopped out the DeLorean into real next gen. Like
Well,
that's what I think about.
okay, going to be interesting.
Uh,
Depending
the,
on how those mechanics work and if the graphics are decent, uh, I'm probably going to get it. Just
I
uh,
mean,
for
the
curiosity
only way.
purposes.
But the problem with wrestling games is the only way you win is if you make that game super easily playable with great graphics, or super easily playable with a retro graphic.
well, I think the deciding factor is the fact that they've announced that one of the gimmick matches will be the Darby Allin Supermarket match.
Oh gosh.
Ooh. Is Stone Cold a downloadable content?
No, there will be no characters on screen, just some idiots asking you if you've ever had a conversation about Darby Allin in his supermarket with a stranger.
I mean, what asshole would go and up and do that?
Yeah, I mean, those assholes must have no lives.
Yeah, your life, Morse.
Yeah.
Alright, definitely something I wanted to go over was there was new footage of Ric Flair getting in the ring with Jay Lethal and had an impromptu match at Jay Lethal's training facility. And honestly, it didn't look like that bad of a match. Clicker, did you see the match and what was your thoughts? Oh, the last Clicker.
Where do I start? Where do we start with this? 'Kay, do I start with the actual match or the comments? Because Charlotte was like, "Dad, what the fuck?" And that's what I was thinking. Ric Flair, what the fuck?
I'm a choo-choo, woo!
But hey, it was in a safe environment. Jay Lethal's safe, so. But Rick took some bumps, but I'm like, dude, you were on the deathbed like a couple years ago. You might want to. I guess he got a divorce and he's living his best life, so I can't even knock the man, right?
I mean, 8
Fuck.
divorces will do that to a guy.
You know what I'm saying? He's like, shit. I mean, he's won 16 titles. The one thing he can't win is a long-lasting marriage, boy.
I mean, Ric Flair's the only guy I've ever known who had to pay alimony to 3 different wives at the same time.
Yeah, he's there.
Yeah,
That's a match he needs to have. Flair versus alimony.
he's been
Yeah,
losing that for maybe 20 plus years now.
yeah.
No shit.
Surprisingly, after the match, Ric Flair celebrated by getting married again.
Oh my god! But in all seriousness, it was good to see. He got little moves. Hey, he could take the bump. He took. Hey, I give him props. He took the bumps. It shows he can still do it. But like I always say, I wouldn't be surprised if he come show up at AEW trying to do a match. Because like I said, until they sell like boots on eBay, they ain't retired.
Well, we do hope Ric Flair and the Bag Lady will be very happy in their marriage. Uh,
Well, I mean, what does it say about Jay Lethal that he could have a safe match and a really, actually, not a really bad match, a really good match with a 72-year-old man?
70, 72, yeah.
And what does that tell you about Jay Lethal and his ability?
Just goes to show that he can still. I mean, he's relatively. I mean, Jay Lethal trained. He's a trainer, so I mean, who? I mean, of course he would make sure Flair would make it out alive.
Yeah.
The question was Flair gonna make sure Flair make it out alive?
72 is the new 45.
Yep. And a final bit of news. The wrestling world is deeply saddened to hear that Karrion Kross has officially married Scarlett.
Not if I have anything to do without it.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you plan on
Huh?
going to Alaska. I ain't even gonna lie. Karrion Kross sitting out in Alaska and nothing but a tux is kind of boss. Because I'd be cold as shit.
Yeah. Not. This ain't gonna happen if I. This ain't gonna continue to happen if I have anything to do about it. Hey, Karrion? You hear that?
Also, second note, Karrion Kross grew hair. Gives me hope for me.
I mean, he threw that shit out in like a week.
I feel like that's what I swear he did. I swear his hair grew out like 3 weeks after he left NXT. And I'm sitting there thinking, why the fuck my shit? How the fuck my shit ain't there?
Could we get Karrion Kross to do the new Dos Equis commercials? The new and most interesting man in the world.
I know. Motherfucker went from bald to hair full in like 2 days. Like, what the fuck?
Which goes to show you that shaving his head was a choice. Being bald is not.
Well, at least in his time in WWE, he didn't get hit by a car. So, there's that.
I mean, I would like Scarlett to do those sucky commercials. Oh! You said those Eckies. Damn.
And that will conclude this episode. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, vote on YouTube, and Castbox. Join us this Wednesday as we do an interview. With who? We don't even know, but we will have that information sooner rather than later. Maybe later today. We don't know. You can follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on Twitter and Instagram for all your Wrestling with news and interview information and all that good stuff. You can follow us individually as well. You can follow me at JamesJ993. Where can we find you, Rico?
And I am Kaliko.
And where can we find Scooter Dust?
They can find me wondering why you sent a boy wonder to do a man's job. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at Scooter Dust. And of course, the remix on YouTube, the only premium live event, live streaming, audio experience, companion, sidecast, podcast, and everything in between. Coming to you next time with WrestleMania Backlash Judgment Day breakdown in your house again on May the 8th. And of course, check out all my antics on Twitch, the numerous channels I visit. Smoking Dragons, Kawaii Guy, Gargano, Medusa, and everything in between. Just look me up. You'll find me there.
That's all the casts except half cast. For Caligula and Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
Give me my hair back.
Hey guys, this is Brutal Bob Evans from Hangs with Bob Seminars and TheWrestleLife.com, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.